If you're a professional wrestler and you watch Between Two Dumbbells religiously, you get to come on the show. Alexander Hammerstone joins me today to discuss how he approaches his bodybuilding training with the demands of being a professional wrestler. Is he more passionate about being in the ring or standing on stage winning a bodybuilding contest? Hammerstone cracks open a Lando Norris monster, and we discuss all this and a lot more on this episode of Between Two Dumbbells.
OMG. You guys are watching wrestling?
I'm your host, Skip Hill, and I'm bringing over 40 years of bodybuilding experience to the table, including over 25 years of online coaching. Joining me today is Alexander Rode, but you may know him as a professional wrestler who goes by the name Hammerstone. Ladies and gentlemen of the audio radiance, you're Between Two Dumbbells. Welcome to the show, Alexander.
Well, Skip, thanks for having me. I don't know how much you think I'm just kind of trying to shine you up here, but I watch you, 4 or 5 days a week. So to be
Nice.
sitting down chatting with you is quite the trip for me.
That's very cool. It's flattering. The older I get, I always tell people I will never get tired of a compliment. So that's very cool. I want to talk a little bit first about how you got into bodybuilding, because you're not just a professional wrestler. You're a competitive bodybuilder. So some people may know you, especially if they've competed against you, because you won the Cal State in 2025. There had to be people behind you in that super heavyweight class who went, he's kind of a good bodybuilder too. I thought this guy just wrestled. Like, what the hell? So, and then other people are going to know you from professional wrestling. So let me first ask you, do you go by Alex or Alexander?
Honestly, about 99% of people in my life at this point just call me Hammer.
Okay.
But Alex would be just fine.
If you irritated your mom and she told you to get in the house, would she'd go Alexander? I know she would.
Yeah, and I might even get the middle name. I might get
Exactly.
Alexander Steven.
Get your ass in this house. All right. 1991. You're a young buck. I saw that and I went, okay, I'm probably his dad's age. This, like, if I didn't feel old, I feel old when someone comes. I mean, I have an older daughter older than you. You might be thinking, this guy is old. How could he possibly get me into my best condition? Teach me how to optimize my training and save me time while doing it. Reach out to me and let's discuss your goals for 2026. 25 years of online coaching, 41 years of training, 35 years of competing. That's a lot of experience and wisdom. Reach out and let's discuss your goals. So how did you get into this? How did you get into I assume you got into bodybuilding first, or was it wrestling first?
It was bodybuilding first, but it was kind of wrestling that inspired that love of like physiques, because it was watching wrestling when I was, 8 years old and seeing Triple H and, Stone Cold, like they were all jacked. And I can vividly remember one time, because we didn't have, like, we couldn't watch Monday Night Raw because we didn't have like cable. So like we'd have to like stay up late on like a Saturday or Sunday whenever they played like the B shows. And I remember seeing like Triple H come to the ring and just thinking like, he looks like a superhero.
Yeah.
And I remember going to school that morning and getting there like before the bell. And I was probably 8 years old. And I remember going into the bathroom and doing sit-ups and push-ups in the bathroom because I was like, I want to get muscles. And then like one of the older, one of like the 8th graders walked in and saw me, and I like awkwardly got up and like got out of there as quick as I could. I was so embarrassed. But like I had this like fascination from a very young age.
Did you get your ass kicked at any point? Did someone do the proverbial kick sand in your face type thing that started? I mean, because there's usually a story behind most of us where there's something that kind of triggered that.
Not really. I mean, obviously, I had my like scuffles growing up, but there was never this like moment where I was like, "Oh, I need to build myself into something to get back at these guys." It was just something that like I started doing, and I got bit. Like when I was hooked, there was no like dipping my toe in the water. It was like I'm hooked. I'm hooked for, or I've been out 6 days a week for the last, 17 years.
Yeah, I can certainly relate to that. What year was that then that you picked up? You said 8 years old. I doubt you picked up weights at 8 years old, but how soon
N-
after that?
No, so I got like actually into weight training at probably about age 16 or 17.
Okay. All right. So then you start, I mean, naturally, you just not, hold on, not naturally from a gear standpoint, naturally from a genetic standpoint, did you just kind of take off and you just started like
Yeah.
morphing?
So
Okay.
so my first day of senior day weight training, we had to weigh in. And I was a young senior because I was actually like a brainiac kid. So I skipped a couple grades. So I was 16 my senior year, but we had to weigh in on the first day of weight training and like take all of our measurements and log our maxes and all this so we could compare every couple months or whatever. And I remember I was at 138 pounds at 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
And
That's
like,
that's lean.
yeah, that was my starting weight, as a senior in high school, of 6 feet tall. So I was a lanky kid. So I didn't like blow up super quick. Um, but I was nuts. Like I was insane because I had half days like my senior year weight training. So we'd only have school till like 10:30. Um, and weight training was my last class. So when class would get out at 10:30, I was done for the day and I could go home. And I would stay in the weight room until 2:40. So I'd already been training for 45 minutes and I would train for like another whatever 4 or 5 hours
Yeah.
until the rest of school got out and take the bus home. So I would just train for like 6 hours every day. Like that's what I thought you were supposed to do, just as much as I could. And then like after a while, I got a gym membership and I started going in the evenings to the gym. So it's like I was just like it's not that I was like this hyper responder where like, oh man, he got jacked so quick and he obviously had a knack for it. But through like sheer stupidity and determination, I did start improving like pretty noticeably to my friends.
Well, it's kind of a funny thing when we're teenagers because we do everything wrong, yet we still respond, and we don't have a clue.
Yep.
So in our brain, the more we do, there's still a lot of people who do that when they're not teenagers. If I'm being honest, it's like the more work we do, bodybuilding in and of itself. I mean, when in doubt, do more cardio. When in doubt, eat more food or protein. When in doubt, do more gear. It's
Yep.
we're an like almost like a overkill type of mentality because it satisfies our psyche. Unfortunately, that's not how the rules work, and it takes us a while to figure that out. But as teenagers, everything's made of rubber, so
Mhm.
you probably didn't have any injuries or anything. Your growth really wasn't there. You probably felt a little run down. Try doing that now and see what happens.
Yeah, I sometimes I think about that, like even thinking about like the job schedule I used to work, and I'm like,
Hmm.
how like if I had to do, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, teenage energy is really really what it is. Let me ask you, your parents, were they supportive or did they look at you and go, "Oh man," especially if you're good in school, which is we're bipolar opposites. Literally, I would choose my classes that I would know I'd pass with a D if I didn't do anything. I would sit in the back of the classroom and read muscle magazines till they fell apart. Now, I'm not proud of that, so I don't want anybody to go, "Wow, he seems to be really." I'm not proud of that at all. I wish I could do it over, but at that time, I just didn't care about any. It was a drug to me.
Mhm.
So, were your parents
So
supportive of that, or was it?
Like, they didn't really grasp how into it I was, at the time. Like, obviously, my mom, like, thought it was weird that all of a sudden I started waking up and cooking steaks for breakfast before school, or she'd
Yeah.
come home and she'd be like, "Where's the leftovers from last night?" I ate them. She's like, "You ate 2.5 pounds of ground beef?" you know? So, obviously, there was some alarm bells going off. But I do remember, like, the moment that, like, was like, "Oh, I do not have the support of, my mom in this one," I was, probably 18, 19 years old, all signed up in college, and I was like, full ride academic scholarship, gonna be an engineer because I was a math super genius, and, I dropped out of school and told my mom I was gonna become a professional wrestler. And she was like, "No, you're not gonna do that." I was like, "I already did it." And she's like and then she, like, basically said, "Well, then you're gonna get kicked out of the house, this and that, blah, blah, blah."
Oh.
And, it was like this whole, like, moment of, like, "You're ruining your life. What was it?" And For a couple of years, it did look like I ruined my life because the process to becoming a pro wrestler usually is not very glamorous in the first couple of years. So
Yeah.
it took a while before it started showing, signs of reward. And obviously, slowly but surely, I garnered the support, of basically everyone in my family.
Fair enough. You know, look, my wife and I have raised 4 kids. We have 3 grandsons. So that makes me even older if you didn't, think I was old to begin with. But my point is, I I've been that kid who wanted to go the bodybuilding route and had to deal, my parents were relatively supportive, at least on the surface. I found out years later, they were like, "What the hell are you doing?" Because I was really good in baseball and that sort of thing, something that actually could have potentially paid off or gotten me a college degree anyway. But as a parent, I have to admit that if my kid came to me and said something like, especially with strong academics and going to school, I'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So, but at the end of the day, what's cool is you followed your passion and you were able to you were able to be successful with it. So I wonder, is that like when you became or started to become successful, did that obviously that changed for your mom, right? She was more supportive. She's like, "Okay, I get it," or was she kind of like, "Yeah, I don't know."
Yes, I mean, it was an okay, I get it type thing. And even I think, even before it really started to pay off, it was just like the realization that it was something that I really loved. And
Yeah,
also, I wasn't willy-nilly pursuing it, like, I think a lot of people do that in life. They say, they pick their dream job and they say they're pursuing it, but it's like, "Yeah, I wanna be a musician," but all they do is play guitar in their bedroom. Or they
yeah,
say they wanna be a bodybuilder, and all they actually do is go to the gym a couple times a week and eat, Whoppers for dinner, and it's
right,
like and a couple extra protein bars. It's like, are you there's a difference between, like, wanting something and pursuing it. And
sure,
when I decided, like, that I was going to drop out of a full ride scholarship to pursue professional wrestling, I sat down and approached it. Okay, what makes a professional wrestler? I have to work on my appearance. I have to work on my character. I have to design professional looking gear. I have to come up with, I have to practice promos. I have to come up with a way to market myself. I approached it like I had 6 college courses that I was enrolled in, and I had to be successful in them. And if I started failing one, I wasn't going to get the degree.
yeah,
Whereas a lot of people in pro wrestling doing it on like the indie circuit are more or less just plain hobby.
okay,
So
and
I-
hoping to make it. They'll get their big
exactly.
break, yeah,
Yeah. So I think the people in my life saw that I was approaching it with that tenacity, and so it's a lot easier to think someone isn't quite as delusional when they're
mhm.
doing it that way.
Yeah, and I can agree with that. There's a genetic component in bodybuilding, obviously. We can work our asses off. We can do everything right. We can learn all about nutrition and training and supplementation and be willing to do the cardio and all that good stuff. But we can still end up being very, very mediocre. Is it
Yes.
the same with professional wrestling? Is there, I don't want to say a genetic component, but is there a certain look? Are there things that you can't really train for? Like, are there people in professional wrestling who are working their butts off, but they're never really going to get anywhere?
Not necessarily in the same way, because like I've experienced that with bodybuilding, where um I've had, there was a year of my life where I thought the difference between me and the pros was supplements. And I tried and I realized very quickly that that's not the difference maker. Um, but when it comes to wrestling, it's not so much that as much as it is timing. So there are some people who like are perfect. Like they have like they're so good, they're so talented, they have such a unique thing that's like catching fire, but and they're garnering recognition, but they don't get that big payoff. And a couple things happen. Either they get burnt out and quit, their fire gets put out and they slowly start regressing, or an injury happens,
Okay.
and then they're never the same. Like I know a couple guys that were on the path with me, and I look at them, and I go, if they would have just stuck it out 2 more years, they would
Yeah.
have got signed. I know it. So there's a lot of that. Like I always tell guys, a lot of the people who make it are the ones that got stomped up and or stomped on and chewed up and spit out and just kept getting back up because the wrestling business is very hard on you in that regard. It's very hard emotionally, physically. Like it's hard to like imagine doing the hardest prep of your life for a bodybuilding show. And then as soon as the show's over, you lose, you don't win, you don't place. And then when you're about to kind of come off everything and go into a relaxed phase and just kind of like chill for a couple months and get your bearings about you, then your tryout is coming up in 4 months. So now you have to go and prep even it's like you have to start over, and that like so that's kind of how wrestling is sometimes, where it's like you'll like go and go and go, and like you feel like you're working so hard, and like finally something happens and then doesn't pay off, and then it's like either like you can't just stop because it's like there is no downtime. So
Right.
it's like it's mentally like there's been times where I've pushed myself so freaking hard. I've dieted, I've done so much cardio, I've done all this stuff, I've been in great shape, and then like it doesn't happen. And then it's like, do I just like let myself kind of fall off the wagon now? Or it's like the next opportunity might be around the corner and you
Yeah.
never know when it's going to come. So I know guys who have like gotten their big break moment, and it's like they get a call for, hey, we need someone here on this day, on this weekend. And for the last 3 months, they've been slacking off. They're not in condition. They're not in shape. So it's hard in that regard because it's not you don't get to pick your show like in
Yeah.
bodybuilding and prep for
Yeah.
6 months. It's basically like be at your peak, be at your peak physical condition, your peak look, your peak cardio, your peak everything always, because you never know when the opportunities come in.
Let me try to, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm trying to make the comparison. In my brain, I'm thinking you need to be like 5 weeks out, 6 weeks out from a show all the time, and then someone will call you and go, "Yeah, you're competing in 5 weeks." And then it's like, "Oh, shit."
Yeah,
So you then
that's
have to
that's
then peak
that's a
for
kind
that.
of good comparison.
Okay. Alright.
And
So let me go ahead.
ironically enough, I think that's also been a huge detriment to my progress ability in bodybuilding.
That's where I was going next. Yes. And I wonder because, I mean, it seems, bodybuilding prep is pretty brutal, but yet it sounds like what you're explaining is it's above that. It's almost like that prep, and you just have to sit there and wait. There is no if there's any downtime, it has to be very, very brief. So I'm wondering about the balance between the 2. I mean, you have to battle, you still have to train. So then, and I'm trying to stay away from the injury. Sometimes I'll make notes. If you see me looking down and my screen shakes, I'm making notes so that I don't forget anything. You have to balance the 2 because obviously you have to be performing well in the gym, and I'm leaving the injury component out for a minute. It's hard, but then you have to be able to perform and deal with the rigors of the ring. Let me ask you, which one is more demanding? I would like to think that it might be the ring because that's going to impact your training potentially negatively, even from just an energy standpoint or an intensity standpoint, right?
Well, so it's hard because it's like in some regards, I'll put it this way. The thing is, some bodybuilders really ramp up their cardio for a couple months out of the year, right?
Right.
I do an hour of cardio every single day, regardless. And it's not walking on the treadmill to keep fat off. It's high output cardio to keep my conditioning up.
Okay.
And that's every single day. And that's how it's been for years. So it's like that hindrance on I I I in the last couple years, a lot of bodybuilding has really shifted to this perspective of what you can recover from.
Mhm.
And so I always have to keep in mind what my recoverability is, because not only am I doing matches, but like my cardio load has to be my priority, because
Mhm.
it doesn't matter how good I look on the poster. If you book me for the show and 2 minutes into the match, I'm huffing and puffing and on the verge of a heart attack, you know, I'm not very useful. So I learned there was a couple years where I got really into the bodybuilding and was just like training like a maniac in the gym and pushing my body weight up as high as I could. And it ruined me as a wrestler because You know, at the heaviest I ever got, I was in the high 280s,
Okay.
and um, I couldn't wrestle for more than 3 minutes without being completely gassed. And I was just like, oh wow, like I can't do this. So it became, instead of, okay, I have to weight train and then I'll do some cardio when I can. My priority now is I do cardio every day. If I have time for weight training, I will do it, which
Oh,
sucks because I want to prioritize the weight training, but it's just not conducive to the outcomes that I need to prioritize.
sure. Yeah. So that brings me to this question, and we may not want, or you may not want to hear or have the federation that you're getting paid by here. Which one are you more passionate about? can you can you answer that? And maybe it is wrestling. I just wonder if the bodybuilding came first, if that might be your foundation and your love, but you're doing the wrestling because this is where I'm headed. So you're it's an internal fight.
So it ebbs and flows because wrestling, when it's good, is the best thing in the world. It's so much more rewarding than bodybuilding because, like, there's people who tell me I've changed their lives. You know, there's people
Yeah.
who've told me, like, dude, when my brother was in the hospital after his surgery, he had your store and he'd watch your matches. And it's like, what? Like that? Why? Why am I that person? You know, you walk into a building that of 5,000 people chanting your name, they're training for you, like you as an individual. That's something that bodybuilding doesn't give you unless, obviously, unless you reach the very pinnacle of the sport.
Yeah.
So, and you get to create these, I have everlasting matches and moments that I could go back and watch and all these things, I see people wearing my t-shirts at the store, and it's like
Hmm.
it that's why wrestling is better. But there are times when wrestling sucks and it beat, like I said, mentally destroys me, and you got to grind through those down times. And I've never felt that way about weight training and bodybuilding. I've always loved it. It's always been there for me. It's always something I could fall back on. So which do I love more? Like, technically wrestling, but it's almost like wrestling is the exotic flame that I get to have a romance with. But bodybuilding is the housewife who's always there for me.
Sure. That's a I like that. I like that. I think that's an honest assessment. Yeah, I'm thinking about the attention and bodybuilding. This is the difference that I see between the two. Bodybuilding, you're not going to really impress upon younger kids, but in professional wrestling, you have probably, equally as many fans who are younger, who might be 10 or 8 versus, the older guys too, where in bodybuilding, I always laugh and say, it's just the guys. We start bodybuilding thinking we're gonna get chicks, and all we do is get mad compliments from guys on our arms and glutes and chest and everything else. I'm like, this didn't go to plan, but okay. So I mean, is that a different, you're impacting kids, quite a
Yeah,
bit too.
and there is something special about that. And it's a different type of appreciation you build, because it's like, yeah, it's cool when you like I could post up my training videos and this and that, and every once in a while oh man, like that's really impressive lift, or wow, I really like your approach to training, and we'll have a short discussion about it. But like, to these kids, you might as well be a superhero.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different type of admiration, and a completely different type of you know place to a completely different role to fill. So it's like you said, both you know you appreciate both of them, but one of them feels a lot cooler.
I'm wondering too, you could do or say things that could make you look really bad. Like if you had a problem with your wife or you had a problem, you punched someone in a bar, from a wrestling standpoint, that could be devastating for you for your career versus bodybuilding where we don't care as long as you're huge, bruh. As long as you're, being alpha and you're doing, that type of thing. The machismo part, no one gives a shit. They don't care if you're honest. They don't care for the vast majority of time. I don't want
Yeah.
to make blanket statements, but you get what I'm saying. You have to, I don't want to say tiptoe, but you have to be very careful with your life outside of the gym as well in wrestling, correct?
Yeah, there's something funny that a friend said a couple years ago that rings very true. He's like, at some point, people stopped trying to figure out if you were a good wrestler, and they started trying to figure out if you were a good person.
I like that.
And obviously, I don't think we should just completely support any shitbag who's obviously, a bad person. But at the same time, I've had people like come up to merch tables and try to like trap me in a political question,
Oh, yeah.
like with a cell phone rolling. And I'm
Oh,
like,
lovely.
what? Uh, my political, like, no matter what I say, half of my fan base is gonna immediately write me off. So I'm not answering this question like, "Oh, so you're not willing to say that," so it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, very much so. They're like, it's kind of obviously society as a whole shifts in the tones. So it's kind of calmed down in that regard. But there was a good couple years there where like wrestlers were terrified because we were getting canceled and blackballed left and right.
Mhm.
Because all it took was one accusation on Twitter and it would go viral.
Yeah.
And then you're done. And if a company booked you, the fans would try to blackball the company.
Yep.
And it's like, and then like there would literally be times where like accusation gets made, it goes viral. And then the proof that the accusation was a complete fabrication comes out, but nobody wants to share that. That's not gonna go
Nobody
viral.
cares. Yeah. That's
So,
not drama. That doesn't feed anything. Yeah, I hear you.
yeah, so very much it's like, there's part of me that's very much looking forward to the other side of my life where I get to just be a normal person, and like you said,
Mhm.
just go to the gym, work out, come home to my wife, and if, if I have an opinion that pisses people off, so be it. Go shove it up your ass, Like,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a very exciting time of my life.
Yeah, and you make a good point because even though it might not be as bad now, like, maybe it's a little bit better, it's still pretty bad. And myself, and I always laugh and say I'm a faux celebrity. Like, I'm
Mhm.
just a bodybuilding dude who's been around for a long time. So, I don't have any idea what you guys deal with. I saw a little bit with my NFL clients. We couldn't go anywhere. We'd be having, breakfast, and there'd be 5 different times where people would come up and ask for autograph, and it's always funny because it's like, "I don't wanna bother you, but"
Yeah.
It's like kind of their moment in time. And I said to my buddy Jimmy, I'd known him for quite a while, worked with him for about 6 years, and I said, "Does that ever get old? Like, does it ever drive you nuts?" And his response will always stay with me. He's like, "Skip, there's gonna come a day where no one's gonna care anything about me, my name, or what I think." He goes, "I'm gonna ride it until the wheels fall off because as soon as I retire, no one will care." And you know
Mm.
what? He was pretty right, because I've been friends with him since he's retired, and I've watched even just simple things like his Instagram go to, a fifth of what it was in the first year because people just don't care as soon as you pull away. But he did say, he goes, "Now I can say a lot of things." He goes, "I'm not out to offend anybody because I can give an opinion without being judged on it like I
Yeah.
was when I played." He said they would look for anything. And coming back to me, I'm gonna make it about me for a minute. But I am careful at my very, very low level to keep personal social media accounts with only friends and family. And there aren't very many bodybuilders or people in the industry in there. And then I have my business accounts because I'm not gonna I'm not gonna mix my thoughts of social situations, political, religious. No, I'm not giving you anything. I'm going to keep that separate. And people will say, well, on principle, you shouldn't care if you lose money. Well, you know what? I do. So I'm keeping my personal opinions away from business because as soon as you open your mouth, literally, you could ostracize yourself from half of the people who would pay you over a political position, a religious. Are you kidding me? I can't. I can't wrap my brain around that sometimes, but that's how we are, and that's rough.
Yep. That's
Question here
unfortunate.
about the professional, and I want to get into the to your training a little bit more too. But is it a drug? Is the attention, and I'm not going to fault you for it, but it's an endorphin, dopamine. This is some awesome shit, right?
Well, like you literally just nailed it when you were talking about your buddy who's you're like, isn't this frustrating when you go out here and these people are in your face with pictures and you got to sign stuff and it's like, yeah, but someday someone's not going to care.
Mhm.
Someday the word Hammerstone is going to be like, what is that? Who is that?
Yeah,
Um, and so yeah, it's very because I'm getting there because I'm 35 years old. I have been beat up. I have been injured. Um, I have had a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of my highest ups are starting to look like they might be behind me. I have had some serious discussions with people close to me about like it might be time to start thinking about the next stage of my life, and it's very scary. It's
yeah,
very scary to think about leaving that behind. Um, I think the people that handle it best, like make that concrete decision of like prioritizing, their family. Like, I need to mentally be mature enough to be in a position where I go, okay, it's no longer about me. I want to raise my kids and I want to see their dreams come true. And I want to see, these new chapters of my life unfold and not keep looking over my shoulder and wishing I was still this guy.
yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's a drug. It is like it's weird to me because sometimes I have to remember, like, like I literally just had a very serious conversation in this realm with my brother, probably over last weekend. And as much as I can take advice from him and learn from him because he's much wiser than me and he's older than me, um, he can't fully relate because he's
Yeah.
never had it. He has
Mhm.
never had this dream job that he chased and got to grab and hold it and manifest this power that is like I said, there is nothing like walking in a building of 5,000 people and there are no eyeballs anywhere except on you.
Yeah.
You guys are in the palm of my hand. You guys are reacting. If I want to make you boo, if I want to piss you off, if I want to make you cry, if I want to make you smile, that is my power. I hold it, in the palm of my hand. It's like that's something. So to experience that, it's gonna be a it's gonna be a mentality shift to let go of that.
I don't doubt, and you know that there's a time limit on it. It's not like you sing or you're a comedian, so you can milk this, this gift or this thing that you have worked so hard for. It's a very limited amount of time that you're going to be able to perform and entertain at that type of a level. It has to be, it has to be difficult. I would imagine. I'd try
Yeah,
it.
but going back to what we talked about earlier with, my love for bodybuilding, it makes me so grateful to have that
Sure.
because obviously that's starting to suck in some ways too because I'm 35 and I'm already starting to see um like I think my training and my diet and my supplementation and everything has just gotten better and better and finer tweaked and finer tuned and more optimized. And I'm just seeing less and less results and less progress and going, wait, are my legs already starting to shrink? Is this muscle starting to, the shape isn't coming, the pop isn't coming? Like,
Right.
because father time comes for us all. But at the same time, that bodybuilding isn't necessarily about linear progress. It's about being the best version of yourself and
Sure. Oh, yeah. And I think with
so
that fallback for that, as far as the passion stuff, look, and I know I'm older, so a lot of times people are like, he doesn't understand. I get a lot of clients who say, yeah, I feel like I'm running out of time. I'm like, how old are you? And they're like, 35. I'm going to use that as an arbitrary number because you're 35. And I just laugh. I'm like, I've never been a really good, I've been mediocre at best, but I got a lot better after 35. And your situation, I mean, let's be fair. And I think you know this, but it's probably still weighing on you because you're questioning it. But you've got this massively demanding physical endeavor that is kind of pushing your bodybuilding progress to the side, not kind of, quite substantially. So when that, or if that becomes not an obstacle, I wouldn't be surprised to see you just blow up and be an even better bodybuilder than you were. Look, the Cal State, that's not a regular state show. The Cal State show is like a high level regional show. That's not the Wyoming State, or anything. If you do well at the Cal State, the list of pros that have gone on from Cal State is massive. There's
And
huge potential there.
I do want to add the asterisk though that although winning the super heavies sounds really cool, a lot of the times it's just because everyone else was fat.
Well, that is a given. That is a pretty good. I don't want to say a given, but that is a pretty good. At the same time, I saw your condition. So
Yeah.
anyone who goes into the super heavyweight division and is Dice already is standing out above the pack because you're right. And look, I'm a masters competitor. It comes down one more class where the heavyweights even are start because the old guys don't want to give up that size. They're like, yeah, I don't need to get his Dice. I'm not giving up this size. And I
Yeah.
think that's where it started with the super heavyweights, even in the open division. But you're coming in with condition. And how many times? I mean, you've competed since. Well, you competed. How many times have you competed?
Oof,
I want to say, but I'm not
I
sure,
my
so I don't
the
want to
my
be
first competition, I was, like, 18 years old, but then I took, like, a
okay.
10-year break, and I think I've competed, like, every at least once every year since 2020, maybe, like, twice 1 year, so,
Okay,
5
now
or 6 times.
I'm gonna say it, and I don't want this to sound bad. I'm just being completely honest. You've been competing for 5 years. That's like, I mean, you know what I mean? And I don't mean that shitty. I'm just saying, bro, there's
Yeah.
a lot and how you've stepped up and again, winning the Cal State. And I know you're kind of looking at it realistically, and I can appreciate that. You're questioning what that potential is above and beyond. But there's a lot there. You're not going there with mediocre genetics or shitty shape. There's a
No.
lot to improve on there. So I know myself. It would be fun for me to look back if I see that you retire and I go, okay, I'm gonna keep an eye on this cat. I'm having him back on the show after he's got a couple years or maybe a year of just training without and I don't want to call the professional wrestling an obstacle. That's not fair. But for the sake of conversation, it's a bit of an obstacle for the progress for your bodybuilding right now. So
Yeah, of course.
I wouldn't be surprised if you really did take off. I would not be
Yeah, I
surprised.
mean, it's an interesting thought to have, it's we'll see if that's even a bridge I get to cross,
Right.
depending on how the timelines work out, but it's nothing like, honestly, I love a lot of the aspects of my life right now. I love the way I get to train. I love how I get to wrestle, and if it changes, like I said, it's all about perspectives. If it changes in a regard where I get to put more focus on bodybuilding, and that is still something that I'm really enjoying, and I want to kind of push that gas pedal down more, it'll be interesting to take that road, But if wrestling ends because of something that's pulling me in a new direction that leaves me less time for bodybuilding,
Sure.
I might have to shift my perspective and try to enjoy that road.
Yeah.
It's but no, I really think it's like this is a really stupid way to explain this, but I've never wanted to get a tattoo. But the one tattoo I've almost always like thought of in the back of my head is the Gold's Gym logo.
Oh,
Just
okay.
be, just because it's the one thing that's been with me for all these years and has never stopped being meaningful to me.
Okay,
So
so
it's like,
let's be specific with the logo because remember, I'm old, bruh. Gold's Gym in the 80s. You're talking about the dude on the front, right? Just so I
yes,
okay. Now there's two. There's two different ones, right?
yeah. I'm
Okay,
talking
so
about the really dopey faced cartoon version of it.
love that. The first one, the original one. You can still get those shirts. If you don't know, I'll send you a link. You gotta fight to find them though. And T Michael, you can still get T Michael. He's still making that stuff, sending it out of Chicago from his website. I don't know if you're familiar with T Michael. That was a 90s thing with the boat neck sweatshirts and
Yep.
everything. This type of, I don't know if you can, but anyway, that's old school shit. And when I ran into that, I was like, oh, but that's cool. And, at the end of the day, what are tattoos? There's something that are meaningful to you. Everybody else will look at them in 10 years and go, it's kind of like the tramp stamp or something, well, that's they giving away their age because that was a trend at that point. It just comes down to what's important to you. And if that's important to you, good for you. But you're probably thinking, I don't want to get it because of standing on stage for bodybuilding. I don't want that to take away. Thankfully, it's not these days unless you're just completely blacked out on one side of your body. I want to go to the injury type thing though, as we transition to a little bit of more training talk. And I would have transitioned earlier, but a lot of what you're saying is really entertaining to me. And I always say, I'm a better host Not a great host. I'm a better host because I'm representative of the viewers. I have this I kind of host how I to ask the questions that I think the viewers would want to know. So I'm kind of viewer at the same time. From an injury standpoint, right now, while you're balancing the two, the bodybuilding training and obviously the conditioning and everything else, but the activity, the physical activity in the gym, I'm assuming that you're walking away from those nights in the ring pretty much beat to hell, right?
Yeah, and the thing that a lot of people who don't really understand the business, is that it's not even just the matches, it's the traveling aspect of it too. So it's like,
Mhm.
there was, like, I think it was not this last weekend, but the weekend prior. I flew to LA, I wrestled, and there was a mix up and the promoter didn't have a hotel room for me. So
Oh,
I slept on the airport floor for 4 hours, then
ooh,
then woke up at 4 a.m. to go through security and get on my 6 a.m. flight and then fly home. Um, and then it's like, do I try to squeeze in a training session between now and then the match I have tonight?
yeah,
And it's like, the old me always did that, but that now the new me, I get home from those weekends, and I've learned a lot of the times the first day back is if I go to the gym, I'm just going to piss myself off because
mhm,
I'm very much I like to train progressive overload. I have my journal, I have my numbers to beat, and if I go into the gym after 3 hours of sleep in a hotel where I didn't have my CPAP and I'm getting and I wrestled, and I had instead of my normal breakfast, I had oatmeal and protein powder out of my travel bag. If I go and work out that day, it's going to be a wash because I'm going to be 1 or 2 reps down on half my movements and be pissed off about it anyway. So I'd rather just take the extra rest day.
sure.
So it's it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, like you said, you're getting home, you're beat to hell. It's like over the years, like it's really impacted the way I train just because recovery is everything.
Yeah, you have a lot of people listening right now who I'm sure are going, "Ah, he's a pussy. He needs to get to the gym," because that's our young self. That's the
Yep.
younger mentality. And as you get older, you realize, arbitrary number, but I've trained legs 1,000 times. I don't know that waiting an extra day or 2 to train legs for the 1,001st time is gonna make that big of a difference. And when you're exhausted and you're not mentally there, the risk of injury goes through the roof. So then you
Well,
have the risk to reward.
it's also like we were talking about when we were younger and we just like to train nonstop. Like it used to just be for the love of training, but as your philosophies on training and your approach to things change, it's like I said, like I'm very dialed in with specific ways I like to train. So I
Mhm.
don't want to have it was the thing. I used to train 6 or 7 days a week because if it was my day off, I'd be sitting there and go, I want to go to the gym today. I'll pump some iron.
Yeah,
But now it's like, if I go to the gym and I have a session at 80%, I just get pissed off. I'd rather have 4 100% sessions per week than 6 at 75 or 80 or even
sure.
90. I want everything to be a home run,
Yep.
because I put that much effort into it. That's how I want to feel walking out of the gym. So
Yeah,
I've
I think when you have
learned. No, I'm just saying I've learned you have to approach things differently.
sure. And I think once you have that experience under your belt to know what a good workout is supposed to feel like, and you have that consistency, people will ask me like, "Well, what? Don't you have bad workouts?" I'm like, "No, I don't." Like, I legit don't. I know that sounds bad. It's a freak thing to have a bad workout because if I'm not feeling it, I already know based
Yeah.
on the signs and everything. It's not an assumption. It's like, well, okay, I didn't sleep well last night. No, I'm not training. Oh, I missed one meal. I'm not training. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about not training for 3 or 4 days and you see your recovery going down and your sleep score going down and it's telling you, okay, my HRV, you're taking into account all these things, how you feel mentally, where you're at, what type of stress you're under. Look, on a good night's sleep, waiting a day can make the difference. And I don't think a lot of people can read that feedback until they have that experience and that consistency of training for years. I wanted to ask you about it has to be very, very difficult, huge challenge when you're traveling so much from a nutrition standpoint. I mean, are you taking your food with you? Do you hit Whole Foods when you get there? I mean, what are you doing? Do you rely on restaurant food? I would imagine sometimes you have to.
So, depending on what level of promotion I'm working for, a lot of times they'll have catering. So,
Nice. Okay.
and they'll be catering. for wrestlers, as far as, they're trying to, if they are getting like a restaurant, it's like, Chipotle bulk orders where you get chicken and rice and kind of hit your proper, macros.
Okay.
But I typically have one of my bags that I travel with is just food.
Mhm.
I'll have 6 meals and I'll freeze them overnight. So when I travel, they're not going bad.
Right,
Even if
right.
the wait, even if I spend a whole day in an airport, they're still safe to eat. And then I'll have dry packets of oatmeal, dry bag of protein powder, protein bars. So it's like in a pinch, I can figure it out. And then, obviously we learn the best options for if you do have to eat out or if you do have to stop at an airport and try to figure out your macros as best you can.
Mhm.
So honestly, over the years, I've gotten that down where that's not as big of a challenge as some people make it out. Also, my prior career before I was able to be a full-time wrestler was I was a chef.
Oh,
So
okay.
cooking and meal prep and all of that is, that's second nature for me. So I've never had a hard time, prepping my food. um, and bodybuilding is just only kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Where you really not fast track, but kind of, condensed it into like a really like I know exactly how to get multiple days of cooking done in 40 minutes,
Right. Yeah. So if you have a history as a chef, you're pretty sure are you cooking your chicken breast sous vide? Because that's the
No,
only way you can make a chicken breast taste good. I mean,
I mean, hey, I think an air fryer does a pretty damn good
okay.
job.
All right.
Um, I will just do bulk baked if I'm doing enough volume, but man, if I have the time to just air fry everything, does a pretty damn good job of keeping it tasting good.
Yeah, bulk chicken, God, it's just you just choke it down. It's like it's just an objective. It's a means to an end. So okay, so the traveling with the yeah, I wanted to say this too. I think that airports, I'm curious if you feel the same way. If airports are I think they're better. I think the restaurants most airports and some like Chicago, O'Hare is awesome. Like you can get some really good now it depends on the flight and the wing, that you're in, as far as where you're traveling in and out of, but there are a lot more options than there used to be. So, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't take their food. I think you taking your food, you're the exception for pro wrestlers, aren't you? Because of the
Yeah,
bodybuilding background? I figured. Because most
yeah.
of them are probably just throwing down massive amounts of food. They don't care much about what it
Well,
is.
I think it's just like even your average person in the fitness realm will say, "Oh, I was traveling, so I had to eat bad."
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you don't. They're like the options that are available now. It's like you
Mhm.
said, like there's plenty of restaurants you could eat pretty freaking clean at. And then beyond that, like now it's like you walk into like even the little, you know, uh convenience type stores in the airport and they have things of just chicken, like a little thing of chicken with
Yeah.
barbecue sauce. They have Greek yogurt. They have, Fairlife milk. They have all kinds of stuff that it's like, okay, so I get that you were in an airport, but the fact that you had Coke and M&Ms, that was a
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah. No, it's
So
funny you mentioned the yogurt thing because there's those farm I forget what they're called, something farm, and they're like a wooden vending machine, and they have everything they got some, not great stuff in there too, but they have, like,
yeah,
yogurt parfaits and chicken breast salads and stuff, and I'm like, now you're paying well for it, but, I
yeah,
mean, that's right at the gate in
yep,
Chicago. I'm like, "Wow, this is like, in a pinch, at least, you're good." But I think it comes down to I think you would agree, it's look, succeeding with your diet, whether you're traveling or not, is being planful. It's having the food made over. Tell clients all the time, if you're going to make your food every meal, forget about it. You're never going to stay on track that way. And traveling is the same way. Let
mhm.
me ask you. I got to ask you this question. I ask a lot of people who travel this question. How many times have you been stopped at TSA and they have to check your protein powder to make sure it's protein powder?
That's not even the worst of it, Skip. You are really underestimating how much these idiots want to look at a championship belt.
Really? Okay.
If
You
I
got a bunch of fans in TSA then.
the amount of times I've had them stop, take out the belt, look at it, nudge the guy next to him, and then put it back in the bag and then let me on my way. I've lost count. It's like you were really making sure there wasn't drugs hidden in that thing.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, So luckily, I have TSA pre-check, which helps mitigate a lot of the trouble.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, yeah, they're pulling out every single meal, swabbing every single one. I had it once where they did the swab on my bag of protein powder, and then they said they got an alarm, and I had to wait for the guy who does like the bomb test to come out, and he was like poured samples of chemicals out and was doing the whole and took like freaking 25 minutes. I damn near missed the flight. It was
Mhm.
like, you really think this chocolate protein powder is some kind of secret explosive? Like,
They
but
called me back to TSA after I was at the gate, and I'm
wow.
like, "Oh, man." I'm like, I don't have no gear with me. I don't have no problem." Like, I don't know what the hell they want, and they just asked me a handful of questions, and they said that I was okay to go. I'm like, What was that all about?" And they didn't care to answer why they had to ask the question. It was very bizarre. Very like,
See,
maybe the guy after me had some sort of problem or something, I don't know, or 2 guys af I'm not sure, but it was very it's only happened once, but I thought that was quite strange. Now getting into your training, you said progressive overload, you're log booking everything. Were you a DC guy back in the day?
so um I started out insane volume, like just like I said, just multiple hours a day.
Yeah.
And then it had to be through Dusty's videos
Okay.
because I'm from Arizona. So, of
Yep.
course, I saw Dusty a couple times in the gym and wow, what is that thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and then, eventually I see his videos on YouTube and I hear him talking about DC training and Dante Trudell and this and that. And I look into it and I start following it. And of course, it's so hard to make that shift at first. Like, it's so hard to
Yeah.
give up your 4 sets of incline and 4 sets of flat and 4 sets of flies and 4 sets of push-ups and 4 sets of for 1 set? You're telling me I gotta do 1 set of chest? What? There's no way that's gonna work. But
But it's
after
working
I
for him, so I'm gonna give it a
yeah,
shot.
after a couple weeks of doing it, that's when you start to learn how to train hard because eventually, like, most people who probably start it, like, I bet it's about a half and a half of people who start it and quit it very quickly
Yeah.
versus people who stick it out long enough to where they get to the point where their brain makes the shift where it's able to approach a workout going, I get one chance at this, and they're
Mhm.
able to flip that switch to make that set work. And eventually I gained that skill and started making the best progress of my life. And I realized, oh, like, this is what can happen, And
Mhm.
at that point, completely natural still, that's when I started blowing up. Um, and it's funny because I can still remember the first time, like after I did like probably 9 months straight of DC, I could still remember the first time I decided, like, okay, I'm gonna go back to like a standard bro split. So I
Yeah.
did like a normal back workout, but I still had that like freak intensity
Mhm.
just like automatically programmed into me. So now I did a 20 set back workout and I woke up the next day basically with the flu because my body was so overtrained and like I was crippled. Like, it felt like you had just spent all night beating me with a baseball bat because like I didn't know how to turn off that intensity anymore. And I just think it's, especially as you do this for so many years, there are days when you go in the gym and you don't have that same spark and you don't have that same, like, it's not exciting, it's more of a routine. But when you open a book and you have a clear cut goal to hit, it's a lot easier to shift your brain and go, okay, 9 reps or you're a fucking failure.
Mhm.
9 reps or you're a fucking failure. If you do these 9 reps, you could write off today as a win and you could go home and not feel like a piece of crap
Right.
versus just going to the gym and going, oh, what do I want to do today? You know? So it's become something that like I really like to stick to. And what's so crazy to me, like, I get it. I get that some people might not want to train like that all year long. But what's so crazy to me is how there's people who, like, it's very understood that to say I eat healthy, so that's enough, doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to make fine-tune adjustments in your physique, you have to track. You have to weigh your food and track your calories. So it's like, well, I'm not gaining weight. Okay, well, up your carbs. Well, I don't know how many carbs I'm eating. I'm eating healthy though.
Yeah.
Like that's the same as saying I'm training hard. I'm training hard doesn't mean anything because
Mhm.
if I'm training hard today and I'm still training the exact same a year from now, it's no longer hard. So it's like I have an objective of what hard training is, and I'm improving on that over time. It's the same thing as saying, I need to lose weight for this prep. So I'm going to titrate down some protein here and some calories here versus just going, well, I eat healthy. It's like, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. So
Yeah.
it's like it's always been so puzzling to me how there's so many people who still to this day hate on like tracking their training and progressive overload, and they think it's stupid or they'll talk down on it and why it doesn't make sense. But it's just like it's kind of like I'm not saying it's the only thing that works, but it's kind of the only thing that always makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, and I completely agree. I think people are, because I agree with you, but I think that not everyone is wired the same. Yeah, you have those people, like you said, who will go a year and there's just no progression, but they
Mhm,
feel like, well, I'm doing everything right. Like it's a matter of time. They're not wired to want to have everything and to everything optimized and put in the added effort of making the endeavor, if I'm being honest, all consuming in a 24/7 type where everything matters. And I think
mhm.
that's the difference. I mean, the fact that you're a competitor and at the level that you are, I think that that already sets you apart because no one these days is getting to that level doing anything half-assed. Even if you're genetically gifted, you're not gonna just continue to climb doing, everything wrong. You might win a show, you might do well at a high level state show, but you're not gonna do well beyond that until you start because everybody is. I mean, everybody who's excelling at that level is doing everything right. Go back 20 or 30 years, that may not have been the case. There's a
Mhm.
lot of stories about things. I remember I know Phil Heath. From Colorado, and I competed against him at the Colorado State. And he was doing everything wrong, and he admits he was doing everything wrong. I talked to him about things. I'm like, "Wow, like you don't know what that is. You don't know what an AI is. You're like, what is going?" But you're going to the USA's, and then you go to the USA's and you win. It's just crazy, crazy shit. It makes you question what you're doing. If I'm being honest. At the
Mhm.
same time, you have to understand that those are just genetic. They're just outliers. They're just genetic freaks. So they can get away with doing that stuff. The rest of us, the average Joes, the mere mortals, we can't do that. We have to be wired to do. And I think a lot of people, really, who are not at that high level of competition, I think they're arguably sometimes working harder and are more precise and more optimized than some of the people who get to that higher level because they're mediocre and they want to be better than mediocre versus having an easier ride. I like to talk about the psyche and the mental aspect of things because I think that it's not underutilized, but it's not discussed enough. And
Yeah.
sometimes we talk about training till we're blue in the face. We talk about gear till we're blue in the face. So things like that intrigue me because I don't think it's discussed a lot. Do
Yeah.
you go ahead?
No, no, no. Well, I mean, I was just gonna say, and I understand it to a degree because we all start out loving this, and sometimes, like, I'll find myself 6 months into a training block realizing I haven't enjoyed a workout in 2 weeks
Yeah.
because I'm just walking into the gym anxiety, like, every leg day is, "Oh my god, I have to do this again," and it's just becoming terrifying, I'm sure you've had the nights where you think about, like, "Oh my god, I barely got through that set of hack squats last week, and I'm trying to put another 5-pound plate on it,"
Mhm.
or I'm trying to add another rep, and it is appealing to think, "Well, I'll just do this instead,"
Yeah.
so
It'll
I
still
understand
work.
it, but I do think that's also the reason to kinda have periods where you push and pull and, you know, you d y I do think it's okay to have a period of time where you do differentiate, but if you really wanna drive progress, the more metrics you can control, the probably the better the progress is gonna be.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree. As far as your training now, is it very similar to that low volume type thing, or has it changed because of the demands with wrestling?
It's still very similar, you know, um, obviously, it's not. I don't still do, strict core DC, with the one set of rest pause, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
But it's a very high intensity, low volume push pull legs approach is what I found I like best. I did try upper lower for a while there, but man, having legs be every other or every third day, that's just, you got to be another kind of psycho, man.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do push pull legs just seems to be the thing I come back to more often than not. Very high intensity, low volume. Every once in a while, I'll get a hair up my ass and start trying to play with the volume and see where I can add a set. But it's like most things, it's like, I watched a podcast very recently with Dusty on it, and he said if you go in there and you smoke a set and you have a back off set and you smoke that, what really is that third set gonna do? Like, is it yeah, you're gonna feel a pump and you're gonna feel a burn, and this like but that's the thing, you have to psychologically get away from these things, like even drop sets and supersets. Like, I used to love that, but then it's like, okay, but what are they actually doing? Well, it's a burnout, and then you
Yeah.
realize a burnout is nothing. Like, or a finisher exercise. What is a finisher exercise?
Exactly.
Exhausting yourself? Like,
Yep.
and it's more so the realization that if you're trying to burn calories, weight training is not the most efficient way to do it. So it's like,
Mhm.
if I want to do my cardio, it's going to be a separate endeavor, separate from my weight training.
Mhm.
So I'd say the only way my approach to training has changed with the wrestling is just having to be more mindful of recovery and having to unfortunately have more days off, and prioritize the cardio. So, however that affects things is the way it affects things. So, that might be in some days I'm training 5 days a week. It might mean some days I'm training three or four.
Yeah.
Um, but I just try not to let that mess with me, because it's like you said, you look back and say, okay, if I've had these 1,000 leg workouts versus if I would have done it this way, I would have had 1,023 leg workouts. But it's like, in the grand scheme of things, it's, I think I'm trying to have a balancing act, and it's never going to be perfect.
Right.
And I can't chase that perfection. I could just chase optimization.
Yep. No, I completely agree. I want to do intimate time with you. Here's what it is. When we have a guest on the show, I like to ask them a series of questions. They're relatively simple. They're not super deep, and they can't be related to bodybuilding. They can't really be related to picking up heavy things, setting them down. They can't be have anything to do with rice and chicken and that sort of thing. So it's just to give the viewers some idea of you outside of the gym and arguably outside of wrestling as well. So we'll have a little fun with them real quick, and then I'll take us out.
I love it.
Number one, is that a Lando Norris you're drinking?
It is 100% Lando Norris,
I
and
have not had that one. It's the only one I have not had.
I don't even know who Lando Norris is.
He's a a Formula One.
Okay,
Yeah, and I
I
didn't
would
I
say
didn't know either.
I won't be getting these again. This is my first time having it. It's going to be my last time having
I
it.
have
I like,
heard the same thing. They're like, you're not missing out on much, but it's the only one I haven't had. I
yeah,
didn't even know they were
it's
here yet. I thought they were only in the
it's the
UK.
novelty.
Okay.
You got to try it. You got to know. But yeah, now that I know, I'll be sticking to a regular monster.
Okay, so when you say regular, what is your favorite then?
It's the zero sugar green.
Green, like apple? Green
No,
apple?
just the plain zero sugar monster, like the
Oh, the
regular
white
OG.
one.
No, 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 no. They
I'm
have they have like so they have like three versions. They have like
Oh,
the green zero sugar. They have the white monster zero, and then they have like
yeah.
the blue low carb monster that actually has like 20 calories in it. I'm
Okay,
talking
okay.
about the green can monster, but the no sugar version.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, because I was like, I think he's talking about white. No, we'll call that number one. Couple questions in
Okay.
there with number one. Number two, money's not an issue. Doesn't matter. Price tag doesn't matter. What's the car in your driveway?
Probably just a Dodge Challenger.
Really? Okay.
I've never been a big car guy. It's funny because people always make fun of me because I ended up buying like cars that are practical, and people like I had a two-door Honda Civic, and I currently drive a Ford Focus, and I've literally got out of my car at gas stations and people burst out laughing. They go, "This big ass guy getting out of that tiny car."
Yeah.
But I've just never really been into cars. But the Dodge Challenger, I had that as a rental car, and it was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And it's like, obviously, we could pick something much more extravagant and much more high end, but just that would be just enough for me.
Very cool, though. Very cool. Which brings me then to number 3. What do you spend your money on that is important to you that you're like, I don't really need this, but I like these types of things?
So I go through phases in life where I dive into these hobbies where I overspend on stupid stuff.
Me
I
too.
was playing with a band a couple years ago. And I was buying guitars every couple month. I'd buy a new guitar, and I was buying and selling. At one point, I had like 9 guitars in the house, and it was just stupid. And currently, funny enough, I do a supplement review channel for my YouTube. So I'm doing supplements, and I probably have 75 pre-workouts right now.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
anytime a new one drops, I'm very fortunate that a lot of brands now reach out to me and send stuff because they want me
Sure.
to review for channels. But like, if the newest thing drops and I want to be like the guy to get the jump on it, like I'm buying them, and it's like, I don't need them. And there's obviously, like, most of these containers have 1 or 2 scoops gone because there's no way. It's like, what am I going to do? Take 3 servings of pre-workout a day and have a heart attack? And especially, how pre-workouts are nowadays. A lot of them, like the ones that people like are really into, are so freaking high stim. You can't even
Oh,
use them
yeah.
more than once or twice a week.
Yeah.
You're talking about, some of these things have 600 milligrams of caffeine, yohimbine, synephrine.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of like my collecting thing right now. Like, here, let me try to see. This is like my main shelf right here. And
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
that's just the main display stuff. I have a whole nother chest in my bedroom full of them. So I'm
that's
spending a
crazy.
lot of money on stupid supplements right now.
That's funny. Number 4, you a cat guy or a dog guy? A
Dog
lurophile
guy
or a
100
dogophile?
Dog guy 100% through and through. My pup's sleeping across the room from me on the couch right now. I keep glancing over him to make sure he's still breathing because he's freaking going on nearly 15 years old right now. And but he's still my puppy.
What type of dog?
German Shepherd Husky mix.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, number 5. Anywhere again, I like the money is no issue thing. Anywhere. It's kind of two-pronged. Who you taking with you, and where are you going to go on vacation for 2 weeks? Money's not an option.
Ooh, that's hard because, so the who am I taking with is 100% my girlfriend. I love her. I like, there's some people who, like, the longer they spend with someone, the more like detached and like take for granted they become. For me, it's the
Right.
opposite. The longer I've been with her, I literally get anxiety, like separation anxiety, when I'm gone on wrestling trips because I want to be home with my girlfriend, and she's the most important person in the world to me.
That's
Um,
awesome. I've been married for 32 years, so I can relate to that. I cannot function when my wife is not around, and I won't
yeah.
say that if she were here, but I can say it because she's not.
And she loves to travel, but I hate it because it's all I do. It's all I do. So it's like,
Yeah.
traveling is like the bane of my existence, and it's not exciting to me. And when I go places, I don't do any of the sightseeing. I literally get to my hotel room, and I'm just finding where's the closest place to get a good workout and
Right.
clean food. And other than that, I'm just booking my flight home. And so traveling has completely lost its allure to me. But that being said, the easy cop out answer for this question is that I would let her pick, because I would just want to make her happy.
Sure.
But if it's what do I particularly like, obviously some kind of exotic beach is always fun. But I've really enjoyed my experiences in Japan and
Oh, okay.
Australia.
Very
Japan, because it's so different and so culturally, everything is unique. And then Australia for kind of the opposite, where it's like everything is familiar enough, but if everything has a quirk to it.
All right, on that note, we got to get to getting. This is Skip and Hammerstone splitting. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell. You didn't like the show? Pretend you did. Like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell anyway. Hit the hype button. Not sure what it is, but I'm pretty sure we can benefit from it. Should sound a little something like this. Use the TrueNutrition.com link to save 10% on not just Team Skip protein, but every supplement they sell. Hammerstone. Alex. I'm going to call you Alex. Where can people follow you on social media or on YouTube?
At Alex Hammerstone on Instagram and Twitter. If you search Hammerstone, you'll find my YouTube. I believe the handle is actually still Bodybuild Alex from way back in the day, but I got daily content on there, and I believe those are the main hitters.
Very cool. You can reach out to me at teamskip.com, Team Skip merch. I appreciate too, Alex, that you did not make any Barney jokes about my purple today. I thank you for
Hey,
that.
before you completely do the exit here, I want to
Mhm.
do this on air because I want to give you the respect I think you deserve. Like I said, I've been watching you 4 or 5 times a week now for years now, and you're just such a great mind for the industry, such a wealth of knowledge, and you're just very much appreciated. And you probably hear that, and it might kind of go in one ear and out the other, and you might think I'm just tooting your horn because you had me on your podcast, but I really mean it. Like the amount of stuff that I've learned over the years and can attribute to a handful of guys, and say a lot of it has come from you. It's really incredible. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that. That's very flattering after being in the business as long as I have. I It's always nice to hear that. So thank you.
You're very
Enjoyed
welcome.
this episode. Be sure to click on this link. There'll be a floating link right here in post production, Alex, for another episode of Between Two Dumbbells.